Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's just get right into it. If you've recently moved to Germany and started looking for an apartment, you have probably already had a minor panic attack. Am I right? Well, trust me, I have been there and you are absolutely not alone. Today, we're going to completely demystify the notoriously chaotic German rental market for expats. Think of this as your ultimate survival cheat sheet. We're going to take you from a stressed-out newcomer to a highly confident tenant who's finally holding the keys to their new home.
First things first, we really need to validate that initial panic. Why does finding a home here as a newcomer often feel like a completely impossible quest? Well, you are entering a country where over half the population rents rather than owns. That makes it one of the highest renter nations in all of Europe. So you aren't just casually looking for a place to crash. You are entering a highly regulated, deeply entrenched culture where the demand in major cities far outstrips the supply. 500. I just want you to let that number sink in for a second. To put this fierce competition into perspective, a premium listing in popular cities like Munich, Berlin, or Frankfurt can receive up to 500 inquiries within a single hour of going live online. Literally, 1 hour. Landlords hold all the cards here, and they have their absolute pick of the litter. But hey, don't let this number defeat you. It just means you have to play the game a whole lot smarter, be way more prepared, and move much faster than those other 499 people.
So here is our survival map for today. We're going to cover your application dossier, demystify the Schufa, decode your actual rent costs, dive into the rental contract, explore the WG alternative, and finally, conquer the Anmeldung boss. Let's do this.
All right, step 1, the application dossier. In Germany, you've got to be fully armed and prepared before you even look at a single listing.
You know, the sources point out something huge here. The absolute number one mistake expats make is sending a lazy opening message. If you just send a quick, "Hey, is this still available?" I guarantee your message will be instantly deleted by a landlord who already has hundreds of other options. Applying for an apartment in Germany is treated very much like applying for a corporate job. You need to present yourself as stable, solvent, and highly professional right out of the gate.
So what exactly makes up this perfect application folder, or Bewerbungsmappe? German landlords are notoriously risk-averse. You need to hand them a clear copy of your ID, proof of income, like your last 3 pay slips or a signed employment contract, a credit report, and a self-disclosure form detailing exactly who you are. The absolute pro tip here? Merge all of these essential documents into a single, neat PDF. When you see a listing pop up, attach that PDF to your very first message. That is how you stand out instantly.
Now, I know you probably just noticed a terrifyingly long word on that list. Mietschuldenfreiheitsbescheinigung. Yeah, it's a mouthful, but please don't let the giant compound words scare you. This is simply a rent debt-free certificate. It's just a formal letter from your previous landlord proving you have a clean track record and don't owe them any money. If you're arriving from abroad, a letter from your landlord back home, ideally translated, works wonders and shows the German landlord you are incredibly organized.
Moving on to part 2, Schufa explained. Let's talk about the document that undoubtedly causes the most stress for new arrivals.
The crucial thing here is understanding what a Schufa actually is. Basically, it's Germany's credit score system. Every single landlord wants to see this report to ensure you pay your bills on time. But here is the massive catch-22 for expats. If you have literally just stepped foot in the country, you haven't had the time to build up any financial history. Your record is going to be completely empty.
Since some landlords might see an empty record and mistakenly assume it's a bad one, you have got to be proactive. You can bypass this whole headache by offering practical, alternative proofs of your financial stability. Bring bank statements from your home country, provide a strong letter from your new employer, or offer what's called a Bürgschaft. That's a legally binding document signed by a guarantor, like a parent, a friend, or even your employer, promising to cover your rent if you default. These workarounds are absolute lifesavers.
All right, part 3, Kaltmiete versus Warmmiete. We really need to decode the traps of pricing because the rent you see advertised online is almost never the total amount you're going to pay. It is absolutely crucial to understand the difference here. Kaltmiete, or cold rent, is just the base price for the empty physical space. Do not budget based on this number. Warmmiete, or warm rent, is that cold rent plus your Nebenkosten. These are your estimated ancillary costs for things like building maintenance, water, trash collection, and usually heating. Your monthly bank transfer to the landlord will always be the Warmmiete.
But wait, even with the warm rent, you are not quite done paying. You still have to set up your own electricity and internet contracts separately. You'll also have to pay the GEZ, which is a mandatory public broadcasting tax charged per household. And brace yourself for this one. German apartments are often completely bare when you move in. I'm talking no light fixtures, no curtains, and very famously, no kitchen.
I know, right? This is often the biggest culture shock for newcomers. Unless a listing explicitly includes the abbreviation EBK, which stands for Einbauküche, or fitted kitchen, you are literally renting 4 bare walls and a water pipe sticking out of the plaster. If the kitchen is missing, you'll either have to buy the old tenant's setup, often paying them a takeover fee, or you'll have to march down to a hardware store, buy a kitchen yourself, and figure out how to install it. On to part 4, the Mietvertrag. So you finally land an apartment, and maybe you've figured out your empty kitchen situation. Now it's time to face the rental contract.
Before you sign anything, you need to look very closely at the Kaution, or the security deposit. Because this can be a huge hit to your wallet, it is vital to know the law. Under the German Civil Code, landlords are legally forbidden from asking for more than 3 months of cold rents as a deposit. If a landlord ever asks you for 4 or 5 months up front, treat that as a massive red flag and walk away immediately. But here's the upside. All this hard work is absolutely worth it because Germany offers some of the strongest tenant protections in the world. Most leases are unlimited, giving you incredible long-term stability. They can't just kick you out without extreme cause. Also, you can legally pay that heavy deposit in 3 monthly installments to ease the financial burden. Landlords have to keep your deposit in a separate interest-bearing account, and there are strict legal caps on rent increases. Once you are safely in the system, you are highly protected.
Part 5, the WG alternative. If the intense competition, the massive deposits, and those empty, kitchenless apartments sound like way too much to handle right now, let me offer a very popular strategic detour.
Enter the WG, or Wohngemeinschaft. Essentially, this is a shared flat where you rent a private room, but share the kitchen and bathroom. I really want to stress that this is a massive part of German rental culture. It's not just restricted to struggling university students. Young professionals and expats of all ages live in WGs every single day.
For an expat who needs to land quickly, renting a room in a WG is honestly a brilliant, low-stress option. They're usually fully furnished, significantly more affordable, and the existing flatmates usually care way more about your vibe and personality than your Schufa score. That means a lot less paperwork for you. You can easily find these rooms on platforms like WG-Gesucht. It is the perfect launchpad while you calmly search for your permanent home.
Finally, Part 6, the final boss. Because whether you rent a room in a WG or manage to secure a private flat, you still have to face the ultimate boss of German bureaucracy, the Anmeldung.
Be warned, just signing a lease is not enough to officially live in Germany. You absolutely must secure this specific document first, the Wohnungsgeberbestätigung. Say that 3 times fast. It is a mandatory confirmation form signed by your landlord, verifying that you have actually moved into the address. Without it, your progress is completely stalled.
Let's look at how this builds into the critical registration sequence. First, you sign the lease and physically move in. Second, you get that confirmation document from your landlord. Third, you take that document to the local citizen's office, the Bürgeramt, to get your Anmeldung, which is your official registration certificate. You cannot skip or reorder these steps. No landlord confirmation means no Anmeldung. And no Anmeldung means you can't get a bank account, a tax ID, or proper health insurance. It really is the master key to unlocking your life in Germany.
Finding a home in Germany truly is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes deep organization, plenty of patience, and a bit of inside knowledge. But hey, get your PDF dossier merged today, and the rest will follow. Looking at all this, though, it does beg a bigger question. In a housing market this fiercely competitive and this heavily regulated, is the German dream of lifelong renting actually sustainable for the future? Food for thought. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and seriously, happy hunting out there.